the library, and we would do it in that setting, which I think was a nice way that the council was doing it.
Brilliant,
to interact.
Has there been any revelations for you as regards everyday living since this COVID thing? How maybe, it is possible to influence global warming or to slow down global warming in some way? Or
great question. I guess your guess is as good as mine, Owen, but it's kind of definitely, I think most people are aware that people can do a lot of work from home if need be, I think people for mental health reasons, it's probably best that people actually see other people and work with their colleagues and all that type of thing. But the staying at home is probably keeping people from traveling anyway. So the travel is down, although the home bills go up because especially over here, there's in the winter it's you're heating up from extremely low temperatures, and the summer you're using the AC to cool things down. So I haven't actually seen data on that, but I can imagine that it's overall better for the environment, but I can't see that we'll be keeping a lot of that going forward. Other than we're using the Zoom thing now here, so that could take away from people needing to travel, and traveling is a massive emissions come from.
It's a big contribution to global warming, the flights thing, isn't it?
Flights and cars as well. You're right. Flights though, big.
I was talking to a guy today in Athlone, and he knows a Green Party member who was in County Clare trying to instigate a young kids from primary schools walking together to school as a collective with somebody minding them, and parents were kind of didn't understand the concept of not driving your kid to school and stuff like that. And it's cultures like that really we need to change, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the great things that a lot of schools have, primary schools in Ireland, is what they call Walk on Wednesdays. So, wow. And that was a very successful thing. That would have been part of one of the green flags.
Yeah.
So the green flag, that would have been the travel or transport green flag.
Yeah.
And that's the green flags is an amazing thing that the schools are doing. They take an audit of whatever particular flag they're looking at. So travel, they would see how does everyone get to school, who takes a bus, who gets driven, and then they come up with the teachers, come up with ideas. And the Walk on Wednesdays thing really took off. And people, I think that's a really good one. So, but
I think as well, like when the COVID thing happened, is like, I've been cycling a lot, and in a way, I've been going to the shop once a week because I live in a rural place, and I think a lot of that stuff I'd like to keep up as a habit. I don't know if I'm alone here, but I don't think I am, and I think a lot of little things that people have picked up over the COVID period, over the lockdown period, I think they'd like to continue it because it simplifies life a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're going to the store, as they call it, the store. It's not the shops anymore. It's
well, they call them stores over here sometimes.
You go to the store maybe once a fortnight now. We were down during the worst of it anyway. So
so let's talk business here. What's going on in Detroit or your general area? How bad is it?
It's gotten a lot better. So when you're over here, and the governor kind of runs things. And she says what goes.
Right, they make their own laws for their own specific area jurisdiction.
Yeah. So I think in Ireland there's a lot of all the headlines are got by the main man.
Yeah.
And but Governor Whitmer is the one who makes the rules for us. So for example, last week, now we had been wearing masks a long time before you were wearing masks in Ireland. I think you were doing staying isolated a lot more.
Well, we have there's a lot of grey rules here at the moment. It's like we have a new government, and I think they're fighting behind the scenes or arguing because it's like, well, one minister is telling us that we're allowed to travel to these particular countries where they were
the
called the
green
Green
light,
Belt or
yes.
something. And then the Taoiseach or the other minister is saying, don't travel, we'll give you money to stay in Ireland. So there's a bit of mixed messages going on. As well as that, there's mixed messages going on with the mask wearing as well. It's like, we advise you to wear a mask, but you don't have to. So, but generally here in the last week, I would say, or 2 weeks, there's a lot more masks. I would say, I'd say 70% now,
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of confusion about it over here too. I guess because there's masks for the medical people, medical grade ones, but there's other masks then that wouldn't be suitable for them. So there was a shortage of medical grade ones, and so they were asking anyone to make them over here and send to the front lines, as it were.
Right.
So there's lots of people and churches and things having mask making for the front line people. So but over here, like I think it was maybe a week ago, my phone starts going off, and it's everyone's phone in off at the same time with a big warning thing saying there's a new rule to wear your mask, that you have to wear your masks
on the street everywhere.
Sorry, indoors. Yes. Indoors.
Okay. Well, we don't know where we are with it, but it's just good to get it because it's very seldom I speak. You're the first guest that I've spoken to on Zoom, and you're the first guest that I spoke to that's living outside of Ireland. So it's just nice for the listeners to hear what's going on over there firsthand,
Yeah. Each state has the thing, and to be honest, you're probably keeping an eye on it more than me. I'm just trying to. I do what I have to in the general locality, but I don't want to be keeping up with all that stuff. Fill your mind with
look
stuff
after
that
yourself.
You can't do anything about anyway. It's
something that I've been just thinking about. Is just if I was in America, I'd certainly be thinking about the various people through history and characters through history who went from Ireland across the Atlantic. I don't know if you've considered the likes of the Clancy brothers who influenced Bob Dylan, of course, and just the thousands and thousands of people who left the island of Ireland to go over to America for whatever reason. There must be 1,000 songs to sing about. Have you ever dwelled into the various bits of history over the years from Ireland to America? Or
I think that perspective becomes when you're living here, you start to feel that perspective more, and it becomes your idea of what Irish is, expands, because, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I would have thought, well, you're Irish if you were born here. If you weren't, you're not. End of, maybe, to a certain degree. But then I did a tour of Denmark with Stephen James Smith, and doing gigs in Germany, and going to Switzerland with yourself to do gigs. And, you start to, your brain kind of goes, oh, there's people out here who either from Ireland or of Irish descent, and especially in America, we all know there's so many people who are of Irish descent, and they really feel Irish, American Irish, I guess. But that's that's an expansion of what Irish is, So and then you hear of all these links back and forth, that certain things would have started here and gone back over against the songs would have that type of thing in them, and like that song Shularoon. Shul.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. That came over here, and that was part of one of the wars over here, and the Irish soldiers and took that on, and
okay.
So but I believe there's there's a version that just stayed in Ireland, but there's a version that came over here and had its own life.
Yeah. And someone told me once, I always remember that we're the lucky ones. We're the ones who got to stay on the island. We were in the minority. The majority of people weren't as lucky, and they had to fly across the ocean.
Yeah. There's like things like hearing about things, that certain, when you think about certain surnames literally going extinct in Ireland, but still existing in another country because all the people with that surname just moved away.
Wow. Yeah.
When that concept came to me, I was like, wow, that actually kind of that resonates. In a different way. So yeah, you can get all that kind of way about it and singing. Everyone gonna want the parting glass and all this type of thing. I guess I don't want to wallow too much in all that, but I do want to, be
Well,
part of it
it's
too.
similar
So
to
I
what we're
mean,
talking about earlier between that kind of thin line between doing the over the top maybe shamrocks and leprechaun stuff and at the same time, it is possible to pay homage to these beautiful songs in a good way and in a creative way and in an original way. So I think like your own thing generally, I've been following your career and I think like you've skipped genres many times from one thing to another. And I think that's something. Is it a philosophy for you, or is it just something that's organically happened that you want to do different things?
Yeah, I guess I just like good songs, and so I was in a band called the Mongrels for years, and we played all the pubs, and we did folk, trad, rock, the Beatles. Everyone does the Beatles, you know what I mean? That's how you learn what a good song is, and so it's kind of all of that rolled into one. I mean, that's the world that we grew up in. You know what I mean? I guess Clancy's grew up in a different world, and so it's tough to keep that. You want to it's nice to keep that perspective going, and that kind of happens over here to an extent. I think like someone like Shane, who's playing guitar, he's a great guitarist and he does his own compositions and he'll do covers just on guitar.
Sorry, who's
He's
that,
doing
Enda?
amazingly well. Shane Hennessy is his name.
Okay.
He's from Carlow. And he's doing amazingly well all over the world at the moment, but he's really worked up to it. Like he would have people kind of complaining, some certain people who would expect, who have a narrow definition of what Irish music is, so some would be expecting all of the Irish tunes, whereas he's like, well, I'm Irish and I'm playing music and this is Irish music, even though he's playing blues and he's playing jazz and you know what I mean? So it's kind of, that's good to think about that too, and to
do you miss the kind of
myself.
inverted commas sessions that you get in Ireland, or the gatherings of musicians? I know you get it everywhere, but there is some, especially before. I mean, obviously before COVID, but like yourself, you were part of a scene that I used to dwell into now and then in Dublin. You had the Bewley's gigs that were every week, and you had your various sessions that you'd be regular on. You missed that a little bit.
Well, yeah, all through my 20s and early 30s, I was living in Dublin, in town, either in Rathmines or Adelaide Road. I was in, so I was right city, and I guess you got a bit spoiled with, thinking that's how everybody in the world wander around to different gigs or venues or down, down one of the streets, and you just meet people all day, all the same people, because I guess we were part of a scene. You didn't think about that at the time. Whereas over here,
I actually thought at the time that it was a scene, because I felt, I think we're talking roughly about the same period, but I know that you were probably referring to a little bit before that. But for me, Dublin was going through a really good place around 2009, 10, 11. After the recession,
right.
I thought there was a kind of a real bohemian scene there,
Yeah, there was a lot. There was the Glore sessions, which that Stephen J. Smith was running, and the Brown Bread mixtape, and the Nighthawks, and all these different things were going great, and I think similar people, a lot of artists went to there, so you're kind of spoiled in that regard, with whereas over here then it's kind of there are sessions, but I have to travel 45 minutes.
Right.
Well, before the COVID thing, I was traveling 45 minutes on a Sunday to get to a place called Ann Arbor.
What's that, like a community center or something?
No, Ann Arbor is a college town. A great venue called the Ark, which I was lucky enough to get to play in there at the New Year's show earlier this year to sing a few songs. But there's a place. It's called I think it's called O'Connor's, And yeah, there's sorry.